The Oklahoma Sooners were down to just 2 running backs. Michael Fasusi continues to get first-team reps.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. And on today's show, we're going to go through some buy or sell for the SEC, the Oklahoma Sooners. How are we feeling about a few topics that are top of my mind, at least? And then we're also going to react to Bruce Feldman's freak list over at The Athletic. But let's start with this. We got an injury and practice update from Wednesday. And Jay, there were quite a few people out. Let's start with the running backs. Only Torrey Blaylock and Javonte Barnes were available for practice, which had DeMarco Murray getting some run in some of those drills.
Panic. Terrified. World's come to an end. We need to shut the program down. No kidding. It's football.
Sarcasm alert.
Yeah, it's football, folks. It's a sport so dangerous that your quarterback can't even be touched in practice. That should tell you something. You're not even supposed to be able to practice it every day. That's one of those, especially physically. That's how dangerous this sport is. I just want to throw the disclaimer out there for those. For the uninitiated, we do have new subscribers on a consistent basis, new people to football. Some people that just enjoy our voices. That's probably a lie, but that's not the point. We need to make sure that everybody understands that it's okay. It is not going to be like this at all times. But at the same time, being cautious with a lot of these players is probably a smart thing to do. Now, Jaydn, I think he had like a shoulder thing. I think there's like a AC joint, like grade 1 sprain or something like that. They haven't given a grade to it, but it appears that he's good. He's going through like a little bit of drills or going through rehab work, but he's not going to go out there and get as physical because you don't want him to, be gone before the season even starts. But it's one thing that happens, right? Sometimes with accidents. You pop somebody and, they feel it. And this is what they're doing right now. They're feeling those bumps and bruises, Sean, which is kind of a good thing. You want them to get their body built up now and feel this pain before you start really popping heads at the end of the month. So as the immunity builds up over the next couple of weeks, I think we'll be fine. But it was intriguing to see some Torrey Blaylock moving. Man, that kid is huge. He's a lot bigger than I thought he was. I knew he was up there at the 210-ish pound range. I didn't realize he's going to be this big.
If he keeps the speed, which I guarantee he has,
yeah,
with the added weight, that dude's going to be a force. And with Xavier Robinson, Taylor Tatum being limited through the first part of camp, he's getting a lot of good opportunities to try to solidify a role for himself this year. I don't think that even when everybody was healthy, I was still of the mind that he's going to have some opportunities because he's too fast and he's too much of a big play threat to just keep sitting over there on the sideline. Would they end up redshirting him? Possibly, but I just couldn't imagine that they're not going to try to find a way to get him on the field in some form or fashion. So at least encouraging that he gets the opportunity. On Jaydn, what you're going to get from Jaydn when he's fully healthy.
Yeah.
You want to keep him upright. You want to keep him trending towards the regular season. You see this in the NFL all the time. They have maintenance days for guys, or they are more conservative with guys throughout training camp. And then as the final week or two begin ramping up for the season, that's when you make sure that everybody's right and everybody's healthy. If he had to play a game this week, like if Oklahoma was playing Michigan this week, he'd be playing. He's not going to let like a shoulder sprain keep him from running the football against the Wolverines. So keep that kind of thing in mind. Like, he doesn't need to practice this week. He's carried the ball so many times at the collegiate level that you're comfortable with sitting him out a practice or 2 or 3 and letting him just be healthy, cut down on some of the wear and tear that running backs go through. Running back is the most wear and tear position next to maybe linebacker.
Yeah.
And just let him be good. Let him just chill out during fall camp. Let him have some maintenance days. And then by the time the regular season hits, he's good to go. It was intriguing that listen, Derek Simmons being out for 2 consecutive practices is something we'll continue to monitor.
Yep.
But Michael Fasusi and Jake Taylor getting those snaps with the first team in his stead.
Yeah, sounds good. That's the one thing I like too, is seeing that Fasusi is working with those ones. You saw some Fogier action too a little bit, but seeing Fasusi really work with the ones is letting you know that he's getting himself to the point where he's pushing people out of the way and he's going to get himself on the field. Luke Buklinko got a little bit of run as well. I'm so excited about Fasusi. He's one of those players that we know is going to be like exceptionally good. The question is, what is his ceiling? And honestly, his ceiling could be all conference, could be all American. Actually, I think it's probably closer to all American than all conference, but he walked in already with the body that you need to be able to play in the SEC. And all he's out there doing is he's moving furniture. And that's probably the big reason why Oklahoma said, hey, whatever you want, dog, we need you on this roster. And he's going to give you that. And he's going to give you the major effort. I'm curious to see Buklinko and kind of how he's transitioning from Stanford here. He got a lot of starting snaps there. Oklahoma's returning a bunch of snaps. And I think that's the one thing that's actually that's, of course, the biggest plus for Oklahoma overall. But I'm really curious to see what the rotation is going to look like for Fasusi going forward.
Well, he's getting time at left tackle. They bumped him over to right tackle. So they're feeling really confident that he's been able to handle everything that they've thrown at him. Otherwise, they wouldn't switch him sides of the field, because that switch is difficult to make sometimes. But if Bill Beatonbow is comfortable with where he's at and saying, hey, listen, you're doing great at left tackle, we need some snaps over at right tackle, we're going to bump you over here for a practice and see how you do. I think that's a really good sign as to his trajectory. How much he plays this year, that's going to be the question, because if your starters are Jacob Sexton and Derek Simmons, obviously you want those guys shining, you want those guys playing well, and you don't necessarily want your second team offensive tackles on the field as much. They'll get rotational snaps, but if Fasusi continues to trend in this direction, it might be hard to keep him off the field. And that's going to be the intriguing thing to watch. And at that point, you're talking about, okay, then what do you do with Jacob Sexton? Do you move him to guard? Then what do you do with Eddie Pierre-Louis? It's a better problem to have than last year, where you're just throwing guys out there because you have to, not because you're being forced to because of how well they're playing. So that's really intriguing. At wide receiver, Deion Burks has been limited the last few days. Again, this is a guy that I think they want to run out at practice with kid gloves, because you want him ready for the 2025 season. You don't necessarily want to expend all of your energy with Deion Burks in fall camp, and you got a lot of young wide receivers that you want to give snaps to as well. So I think you have a good spot there. And then Zion Kearney also was limited at practice, or did he miss practice? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, no, Kearney. Zion Kearney was not out there. Yeah, him and Burks. Kearney has been stacking some really good days, day over day and week over week. Same thing he did in the summertime. You know what you're getting out of Deion Burks. So for him, you just want to get him in the right game, get him in game shape to prepare to go out there, make a whole bunch of catches, and hopefully not get leveled on a regular basis. He took some shots last year, and you want to avoid that, of course, this year. So for him, you're not as concerned about him truly practicing. More so, you want to make sure he understands the route concepts, and he has some rapport with Materia, in which we know that him and Materia was working out over the summer. Same thing with ZK. I heard that Materia grabbed him up and said, hey, come on, let's go to the facility. Let's throw some passes around. So I think you're fine in that capacity. Caden Helms was out there, and he had a soft cast on his hand. Hey, that's good, right? That warrants some excitement and happiness from everyone, that he's probably going to be ready, in the next, few weeks, if he's out there already with a soft cast. So as long as he can try to catch with that soft cast, that's always the problem, man. You lose a hand and not be able to catch with it because you got to cast on it to protect it from additional injury. But hey, to me, that's a win that he's not over there in a big cast and he's not able to perform.
Real quickly, Keontae Lewis continues to trend in a really positive direction. Same with Cortland Guillory. Like, everybody that's watching these guys and the coaches can't speak high enough of them.
Oh, yeah. Keontae is going to be fun. He's going to be so much fun to watch. You know, we talked about him before, and it was unfortunate how everything went down at the schools that he was at. But, you know, you have a whole bunch of change that happens. Some players end up getting lost in the shuffle. And I think he was one of those, but I also think that he's going to play a lot more than people think.
Pair of Oklahoma Sooners make the Athletics freak list. Who is missing and who could be on this list next year? We'll discuss coming up next year on Locked On Sooners.
You're already following the action in summer sports because they're in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Because you're already following it, why not add a little thrill to it? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game with your friends and, you know, avoid the sunburn that they're all getting. So, like, some of the things they've got, FanDuel's always got new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Keeps things fresh. Makes it easy to be able to have fun. Plus, while you're playing it, you can either be doing a same-day parlay or watching a bet ride all the way to the ninth inning. FanDuel makes it feel like you're a part of the action, especially as we call these the dog days of the summer. Don't worry, season's coming very fast. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Bruce Feldman creates a list of 100 to 101 players that are just freaky athletes over at The Athletic. And generally, you have a couple of Oklahoma Sooners on it. And this year you did. You had Jaydn, you had Robert Spears-Jennings, both being featured on The Athletic's freak list.
Yeah, this list started with 10 or something like that when he first began this game. And he's been growing it and growing it. It's one of my favorite lists to read every single year because it gives me an idea of players to keep your eyes on that could be doing something crazy. And it's always very weird little anecdotes about them that makes it even more fascinating. Like Jaydn, number 55 on the list. And of course, we know he ran for 2,600 yards and 700 yards receiving, which that some people did not realize he had a lot of receiving yards and 30 touchdowns in his first 3 years. So average about 10 touchdowns per season. But he squats 45, benched 370, and power clean 315 pounds with a maximum velocity of 21.6 miles per hour, maximum acceleration of 12.1 miles per hour. So, yeah, dude's pretty freakish in his capabilities, and he had a maximum proportion force that was 3 times his body weight. That's a lot. That's a strong dude. And that little nugget about it is something to make you watch him and say, I want to see how he breaks out to the outside or explodes up the middle and see if that really translates here. Because typically all of these little anecdotes always translate to the field in some capacity.
Yeah, and being a running back, you want good strength in the lower body, and he's got that in spades. I mean, being able to squat 450 pounds, 485 pounds, that's really impressive. Like that power clean of 315, like that's strong.
Explosion.
So, yeah, it's exciting to see what he's going to be able to do. I mean, I don't think at this point we can be any more excited for Jaydn Ott. You know, it's just a matter of getting him out on the field and seeing what he's going to do. I think that week 1 game against Illinois State is going to be something to marvel at, because I don't know if we've had somebody that has as much potential to break away from the pack as Jaydn Ott does in some time. I mean, we've had good running backs, but I don't know if we've had anybody with his kind of ability in a while. Maybe since Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, like those dudes were really, really good. Coming in at number 82 was Robert Spears-Jennings, and he put up some impressive numbers as well. He squatted 510, benched 330. He hit 21.6 miles per hour in max velocity, and his max acceleration was actually faster than Jaydn Ott's at 12.8 miles per hour. So this, again, we've been singing the praises of Robert Spears-Jennings on the show for quite some time, but I'm of the mind that he's got the potential to be a top 60 pick in the NFL draft in 2026. And if he continues to test like that and he goes and he has another really, really productive season for Oklahoma this year, I think the sky is the limit for the kid. And he is one of those guys that he might not be as well known right now in SEC circles or in national circles, but by the end of the year, a lot of people are going to be knowing about Robert Spears-Jennings.
Yeah, and it's always it's not a surprise. Not always. Let me change that. It's no shock that his acceleration is high when you saw those blitzes that he did against Tennessee as well as Auburn, and he just comes out of nowhere and just levels a dude.
Or even dating back to 2023 when he got in for like 2 snaps against Kansas.
Right. You see, and you see a movie like, oh wow, why is he not playing? And it's not easy when you have talent on the field to play everybody or whatnot. Some people they don't get as many snaps as you would like, but when he walked out there especially last season, you're like, oh no, he's gonna own this position. This is his. He's gonna be that dude. And then you see him move like his proportion force measurement was 3.4 times his body weight. Absurd. In vertical jump, which is just crazy. So benching 330, John, squatting 5'10. That's why he hits so well on the run defense. It's funny because going through PFF's their grades or whatnot, he was the second highest graded player in the country in run defense if you have the minimum amount of snaps. And he was like a 90-something grade. Like, he stops runs. And so you want someone that knows how to tackle really well. Robert Spears-Jennings, I think the thing that he needs to improve is his coverage. And if he gets out there and gets elite in his coverage game, get his hips going, being able to turn and stop wide receivers, John, there's a good opportunity. This dude forces his way into a late first-round pick. Safeties aren't as valued as high unless you're like really a Swiss Army knife. He can become that this season. He's got all the tools for it, and he's going to be fun to watch.
So who do you think that will be here next year will land on this list for Bruce Feldman? One name that pops up for me is Ryan Foje.
I can see it.
Like, that's a dude that at 330 pounds shouldn't be able to move the way that he moves.
Not at all.
He is freaky athletic for a guy his size. And I think that's going to be something that stands out whenever he tests next spring. A full year in the system, full year and a half in the system. By the time we get here next summer, he will be faster, stronger, more athletic, more explosive, and he'll be scary playing right guard for Oklahoma next year.
Yeah, Foje is a very good one. I think one that I can see on that list on the offensive side is Torrey Blaylock.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've seen the gains that he's gotten as a true freshman. I mean, he jumped up 11 pounds from the spring into the fall. And I bet you, like I said, I think he's probably closer to 210 going into the actual season when we get the last set of weights at the end of the month. Yeah, he has seen a massive amount of growth just being here. And that's absurd. So I think Torrey Blaylock's going to be on that list because I think that he's going to put that up. I think on the defensive side of the ball, Reggie Powers is going to end up on there. Mm-hmm. I think physically he is imposing. He's got the strength. I mean, heck, he got the neck of an NFL linebacker / safety, just big and just thick. Like, he just hurts. Like, he just thumps you and you feel everything. I think he'll be on that list or someone that's going to be considered on it because, and the beauty of this list is Feldman talks to all the teams and asks them about the ridiculous numbers some of these people put up when it comes to measurements and testing, and this is where you get that from. So I could totally see those are the two players I think on both sides of the ball that could end up on there. You may see a freakish, heck, don't be surprised if a Daniel Okoye populates on there one of these days, right? You got a list. But I think defense, I think Powers and Blaylock are two that I could totally see being on there.
Yeah, Danny Okoye was the name I was about to throw out. I'm glad that you did it because Brent Venables called him the best athlete on the team.
Easily. I mean, I still watch him do standing backflips at that size. Crazy.
That kid is going to be something pretty special, I think, once he gets playing time and once he gets on the field. Buy or sell, Jay. We got some win total updates to discuss. Also, will Oklahoma have a resurgent season at wide receiver coming up next here on Locked On Sooners? Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We got Fan Feeling Friday coming up on Friday here on Locked On Sooners. Make sure you hit us up on all of our social media accounts. Let us know how you're feeling about the Oklahoma Sooners 1 week into fall camp. You can also reply to a post we made over on YouTube as well. So again, we'll share the best reactions, the best fan feelings here on Locked On Sooners on Friday. But Jay, let's do some buy or sell because we're feeling pretty positive about Oklahoma. I'm still maybe a little bit skeptical because I want to see it out on the field. But let's start here. At wide receiver, buy or sell, Jay. Oklahoma has a wide receiver with 850 receiving yards this season.
Oh, I'm buying that. I can see us having a couple of players over the 800 realm. Now, if you would have asked me about 1,000, I'd maybe be like, yeah. I don't know if we're going to have one person be that dominant. I think it's going to be a committee this year, especially as Mateer gets things down. Plus, you have a good group of weapons. I think you've got at least 4 players that I know can get you a bunch of yards that you'll be like, all right, I could totally see it. But 850, yeah, I can definitely see at least one player getting 850. We need a 1,000-yard receiver, but I don't know if it'll be this year. I could totally see it next year.
I'm going to sell. And it's not because I don't like the wide receiver group. It's not because I don't think there are players capable of putting up 850 or more. I know Jay's just want to call me a hater. It's fine.
Hater.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am a hater. I'm sorry, guys.
Pure.
Emmett Jones, I'm sorry.
Uncut.
I'm a hater, apparently. I just think that there's a little bit more of a rotation. Like there's a lot of depth that they're going to want to see on the field. I mean, I could name off a handful of guys that they're going to want to play. Deion Burks, Zion Kearney, Keontez Lewis. When Giovanni Gibson gets back, when Jaydn Gibson gets back, Elijah Thomas, Jacob Jordan, Isaiah Satan. Like there's 7 guys that you could see get actual playing time and significant snaps for this team that I could see maybe 3 wide receivers with more than 600 yards, a couple with more than 700, and maybe 1 or 2 with like 300 or 400 yards receiving. Like, and again, my sell status doesn't even consider what happened last year. It just considers the fact that you have a plethora of weapons, and I think they're going to spread the ball around, and we're also going to run the football a lot. And so I don't think John Mateer is going to throw for 4,000 yards. I think he'll hit around 3,000 again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think they're very deep at wide receiver. So we'll track this and we'll see where they end up. But Jay's buying a receiver over 850. I'm selling that. Let us know what you think. Wide receiver over 850 or not. Here's one that's intriguing. Okay. R. Mason Thomas had 9 sacks last year. Will he have 9+ sacks again? Are you buying or selling?
Man, that one I've been struggling with because I've been trying to figure out my predictions on what would be what's the ridiculous numbers we could see coming into the season and what's some that are too far-fetched. And I don't think R. Mason repeats his 9-sack season.
Hater.
And I say that because I think that he's going to be the focal point by a lot of teams. They're going to do whatever they can to try to get 2 people to prepare to stop him from being the menace that he is on the edge. Now, would I be surprised if he repeated the 9? So I'd say the over-under is what, 9.5 was what you would probably set it at?
Yeah, I'd probably say 8.5.
8.5? Okay, over-under 8.5. Man, I'd probably take the under. I think his pressures go up, and I think he gets more hits. But I don't know about him getting more sacks because he's now someone people are paying attention to, and defenses will have to scheme to watch him, which opens it up for everybody else on the D-line.
I'm going to buy. And here's why.
You're not the hater.
No, here's why. Your defensive tackle group is so good that teams will not be allowed to slide coverage or slide their offensive scheme package to completely take him away. Will they be? They'll probably use a running back to chip or a tight end to slow him down a little bit out there on the edge. But with Jaden Jackson, Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, David Stone, and maybe even Trent Wilson, you're not going to be able to just completely ignore the interior. you're going to have to make sure that your interior is shored up, because interior pressure does more to disrupt an offensive attack than even edge pressure can. So I'm going to buy. And here's the other reason why. Oklahoma is going to be in a lot more game scripts where they're leading in the third and fourth quarter than they were last year. And they're going to be in a lot more game scripts where they're leading by, I'm going to say 10 or more. That's going to force teams to be pass heavy, which is going to open up so many more opportunities to rush the passer for R. Mason Thomas. Let's consider how many times Oklahoma was playing with a 10-point or more deficit in the third or fourth quarter. And those opposing teams, all they had to do was just run the ball and avoid, deeper dropbacks and avoiding R. Mason Thomas. In the games where it was tight in the fourth quarter or Oklahoma was leading, he was teeing off. Tulane, Alabama, Missouri, those games, he was absolutely dominant. Get him a fourth quarter league, and it's going to be lights out for opposing quarterbacks. Next one here. Over under on the win total has moved to 7.5. Jay, are you buying Oklahoma on the over 7.5 wins for 2025?
Absolutely. I'm taking the over.
Yep.
I'm going to hammer the over. I'm going to go ahead and get on FanDuel and hammer the heck out of that over. I already hammered it once. I'm going to go ahead and hammer it a second time. Why not? Why not get a little bit more action in there, right? Just double and triple down. No, I think 7.5 is still low. I think that Oklahoma's going to go out there and he's going to surprise some folks. And that's the one thing that gets your boy excited, that I think that we have an opportunity to do something that a lot of people don't expect. They don't expect Oklahoma to be that good, which is fine. Totally here for the skepticism of the opposition in the world. But a lot of people are buying in heavy. Josh Pate's been on a few shows, his own show, as well as he was on the Oklahoma Breakdown this week, and he's talking very reckless about Oklahoma. He posted a tweet when he saw John Mateer throw a pass, and he's like, yep, they're going to make me make some regrettable predictions about them with the way this propaganda's coming out. He ain't lying, because I've already been on that propaganda chain. I am in there like swimwear, that I understand the assignment. I'm all over it, because 7.5 still feels low to me.
Yeah, I think this is a team with an 8-win floor, which, again, we talked about it in yesterday's episode, where I don't necessarily consider that a good season. I think 8 wins is the floor for this team. So hit that over. I'm buying over 7.5. I think this is a 9-10 win team. And at minimum, I think they have the potential to be even more than that. And I know y'all are going to hate to hear that, but this is a team that has the potential to do some great things this year. So I'm buying over 7.5. Again, if you want to too, you can go to FanDuel.com as well. Final buy or sell here. The SEC gets 4 teams into the college football playoff in 2025.
Ooh, see, that's the toughie. Is there a path for it? Yes. And I'll be honest, I think Oklahoma and Florida opens up that opportunity, specifically because of how potentially tough the schedule is that everyone's talking about. Oklahoma, with the coaches poll, Oklahoma plays 7 teams that are going to be on that list. They win majority of those. They're probably putting themselves in a position where they're going to end up in the playoff conversation, at least. Similar with Florida, who I think also plays 7. So because of the non-con in those other games, especially Florida's with Miami as well as Florida State, which I think Florida State's going to be really good this year, that helps with the narrative and the conversation about should they make it, because a lot of weight is put into these preseason polls early to help, say, oh, you won this ranked game, you beat this ranked team. That's going to help with the conversation and, like I said, that narrative to get them pushed and propelled forward. So because of that, I'm going to buy 4 teams making it this year.
I'm going to sell. I think the SEC is going to eat itself alive a little bit more. And so I don't know if you're going to get a 9-3 team in. I hope you do, because I hope that Oklahoma is that 9-3 team that gets into the playoff. But I just think that I don't think Texas is as good as everybody says they are. Georgia, I'm buying Georgia, but I don't know if they're going to be a dominant like 12-0 team, right? Alabama, same thing. I don't know if they're going to be a dominant 12-0 team. I think you could see a 10-2 SEC champion. You know, I think you could see two teams that are 10-2 going into the SEC championship game. And then one of those could be a 10-3 team after that game, and one would be 11-2. So I don't know. I just think the depth in the SEC right now, the fact that it's so wide open, that there are so many teams that could contend for the SEC title and contend for a college football playoff berth, you might see a little bit more of it eating itself alive. Now, if the college football playoff committee will actually take into account strength of schedule, then we might have a conversation there. But until they do that, until they prove that they're willing to take into account strength of schedule, strength of conference schedule, then I'm going to be a little bit skeptical on that front. But I think there's a better chance that the SEC gets 4 teams in than the Big Ten. We'll just have to see where it lands.
I love that everybody does not believe that they're going to take a strength of schedule in consideration. That cracks me up, but I totally understand and agree. I get why everybody's super skeptical about that, because we haven't felt like we've got that before. And so if we get that, that should be enough. But, you know, rightfully so. It's still we'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
we'll
they
see.
showed us in 2024 with teams like Indiana not really playing anybody, getting that at-large bid. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Go check out Jay's show at Unfair Sports on YouTube as well. You can follow him on social media at Unfair Sports. You can follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. Again, hit us up for your Fan Friday feelings and let us know what you're thinking about the Oklahoma Sooners 1 week into fall camp. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. Go ahead. Let your feelings out, folks.
Yep.
We want to know how you feel.
All the vibes, positive, negative, whatever you're feeling. Let it all out.